How to open a watercolor tube cap that has dried paint around the cap? It's a simple question, right? And the answer probably seems obvious to more experienced watercolor artists. The caps on paint tube become stuck because wet paint has dried between the cap and the thread of the tube. It happens to everyone. However, artists are a creative group and there are some tricks that you can open the dried can easily. Some artists use some tool like a small pair of pliers, cloth pin, a nut, or a crab leg cackle. But the problem with a tool like a pliers is that they can damage the cap. Pliers work fine, but there are problem which is if you twist too hard, you can actually tear the metal out the tube and it will make a hole or cap can break. Old tubes are sticky problem. Often if you leave them for a while, the paint dries and the cap becomes difficult to remove. This cap is stuck because the watercolor paint collected underneath the cap and along the thread. Watercolor contain a binder. In other words, a glycolate gum arabic. It is very sticky. But gum arabic remain water soluble even after it's fully dried. So it's easy to remove the cap. Also, don't try to open the tube cap using your mouth or teeth. The paint will come out anytime and that is very dangerous and it can also damage the cap. So, how to open watercolor tube? Just open the cap. I hear you say. The solution to this is to warm the cap in some way. Leaving paint cap down in some warm water usually helps. To do this, simply heat some water until it's very hot or boiling. Take the problem tube upside down in the water so it's submerged and wait a minute or two or more. Cold water also helps, but if your tube cap is too stuck and it's difficult to remove, then you should try warm water. Using warm or hot water is fastest way to open the tube cap. Only problem with cold water is that it takes more minutes than warm water. I am pouring the color into the palette wheel that come off from tube. So not to waste the color and I will be using that color in the next painting. Now let's talk about how to prevent a cap from getting stuck. It is possible to prevent a cap from getting stuck in the first place. Before you close up your tube or pen, wipe it with tissue paper or a towel to remove any paint. Then simply rub a little Vaseline or another petroleum jelly product around the groove inside the cap before twisting it back on. It works wonderful and is a good habit to get into. You can also use glycerin or a very light amount of honey. Also, don't forget to clean the color that dried inside the cap to prevent this from getting stuck again. I am also pouring this color and removing the paint using old paint brush and then I will wipe it with tissue. Don't squeeze the tube like this while pouring the color into the palette well. You can also prevent this problem by dragging the tube just in one direction so that thread will stay clean. And if you gently squeeze the tube side, that color will often retract back into the tube. Thank you for watching.